Hi, I'm Catherine.
And I'm Gail, and welcome to Women Over 70, Aging Reimagined, our award-winning weekly podcast. Visit womenover70.com to learn about how you may become involved. And visit or join Aging Reimagined Circle and enjoy free participation in our monthly programs. Thank you for listening.
We want to thank our sponsor, Skintensive. As skin ages, it becomes more fragile and bruises easily, especially on the back of your hands or forearms. I'm loving Skintensive Bruise Cream, developed by Harvard-trained dermatologists specifically for mature skin. It gently moisturizes and helps bruises fade faster. Find it at skintensive.com. For 25% off, use the code capital W, capital O, 70. That stands for Women Over 70. Today, we're really pleased to introduce Ande Lyons, a seasoned podcaster, and she is part of the Podcasters Collaborators group in which we participate. Now, at age 68, Ande Lyons is living proof that ambition is ageless. A 4-times business founder, longtime global startup mentor, and a serial podcaster since 2012, Ande brings decades of entrepreneurial spirit and broadcasting experience to everything she does. She's currently the founder of the New England Podcasters Group and the host of Don't Be Caged by Your Age, a popular podcast where she's redefining what it means to thrive after 65. And through powerful conversations with people who've defied ageist expectations and stereotypes, Ande helps her listeners dissolve internalized ageism and step boldly into what she calls the Renaissance years. Enlivened, visible, and purposefully engaged. Her motto, pastures are for horses, not humans. Welcome, Ande, to Women Over 70. As our advocate for women aging, we're very pleased to be with you.
Catherine and Gail, thank you so much for having me here. I love your podcast. It always pops up everywhere, and you have one exciting guest after another, and you cover such wonderful topics. You are inspiring everyone everywhere they go. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for referring some really wonderful guests to us. We'd like to hear a little bit about your origin story of how and why you turned your attention to aging.
Well, thank you so much for asking. I've been unemployable since 1992. I've had quite a few businesses. I say I'm a 4-times founder, raised millions for a .com, thousands for a consumer product company through angels, and then my own charming personality for a couple of online tech companies. And it was while I was mentoring startup founders, which I did globally for about 8 years. I had a monthly pitch event here in Boston for founders, having 99 seconds to pitch their value prop to a live audience. We had investors as judges, heavily into this group. And at that point, I'm well into my 60s, and I'm surrounded by a youth-centered culture, right? Seasoned founders, of course, giving great advice, but most of the founders were under 40 years old at these events. And I never told them my age. They assumed I was maybe 50, 52, and I'm sitting there going, I have shoes that could be your grandmother, okay? And I would also hear often gendered ageism. Explain your startup, your business, your value proposition as if you were telling your grandma. And it was never grandpa, always grandma. And I'd want to jump up out of the seat and go, wait a minute, what's the matter with you people? We started building tech companies in the 70s, okay? We were gaming using punch cards and mainframes in the early 80s. We had to transition from typewriters to computers before you were even born. And then we had to start doing things like email and hire people to build websites. So don't act like we're stupid about technology. That drives me nuts. So, but I was still, as a woman in our culture, so afraid to come out about my age. So when I turned 66, I said, enough. I've got to come out. And I'm going to show, I don't know if you have video, but I'm going to show. I took a picture of myself with the Route US 66 sign in front of me. turning 60. And you could see it in my face. Will you still love me and respect me now that you know I'm so friggin' old? And the post on LinkedIn went viral, and I learned so much from the comments. And I called the post, "Don't be caged by your age." And I heard from so many people and across the spectrum, people who were just devastated from having to retire, were missing being connected and all the things, to folks who were just jam-packed with all sorts of new ideas, doing cool things. One of my favorite stories was a guy who said, well, I retired and I was happy to retire. And so I started gardening. And then I said, where are all these bees coming from? I need to get me some hives. So then he set up some hives and he said, well, what am I going to do with the honey? Well, now he has a popular honey business. Stories like that. And I even had to check my bias when a 91-year-old said, yeah, I just wrapped up, one company, I'm about to start another. And I'm like, what are you doing on LinkedIn? Was my thought. And then I had to slap myself upside the head. Andy, that's ageism right there. He's 91, he's thriving, and he's on LinkedIn having a great time. Where are you to say what he's supposed to be doing? So I saw my own ageist beliefs happening. But the thing that really empowered me was aging out loud and proud. And it really hurt my stomach for quite a few months doing that because of the messaging we get all the time that aging is bad. So, that's my origin story. I've been podcasting since 2012. And I said, you know what? I am going to get out of the startup ecosystem and I'm going to focus on podcasting. So in March of 2024, I launched Don't Be Caged by Your Age. And it's my 6th podcast. And I launched the New England Podcasters Group because, as we all know, as we age, community is so important. But how do you meet folks? And really, we're quite discerning with who we want to spend our time with. I mean, we don't know how much time we have left. You don't want to spend it with people who put you to sleep, right? So I knew I loved podcasters and found them so interesting. And I knew we needed to get out of isolation, especially after the years of COVID. And podcasters tend to do all their recording in a closet in a side room at home. And sure enough, it just suited a need. Folks drive from all over New England to meet at this location we have here in Massachusetts. And it's so wonderful. It's intergenerational. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
It's a good story. So the podcasters group, are they covering all different topics, or are they all related to aging?
No, it's all different topics. Oh my gosh, we have someone who talks about how to do small steps in sustainability, grounded in Maine. We have Andy Grant's Real Men Feel. Oh my gosh, it's a phenomenal podcast. We have a multiple award-winning Angel B. Hartman, who has Wickedly Smart Women and Leading Visionaries, both podcasts huge out of the park. We have newbie podcasters that have launched in the year. We have Horror Heals and we have Family Twist. I mean, and then of course the business podcasts, about websites and content and all of those things. It is so fascinating. And when we get together, it's just wonderful.
I wanted to kind of go back now to your podcast and your emphasis on aging. And what are some of the myths that we need to debunk about women aging, older women?
Oh my gosh. I mean, well, first of all, you said in the beginning, pastures are for horses, not humans. Stop putting folks after the age of 65, quote, out to pasture and stop warehousing them. But for women who are always worrying about how they look, how's their body, how's their skin, how's their hair, all the things, it's shifting the mindset from this stop aging. No, right now you can't be getting older. You got to be getting younger, and shifting that conversation to looking at every wrinkle and curve of the aging body. And for me, my gosh, the browns, I call them barnacles and moles that are cropping up everywhere and hair coming out, to look at that and say, okay, how about you embrace the beauty of your story? Because beauty really does come out from our hearts, out of our eyes, out of our smile, out of our body language. And practice radical self-love, because we're not declining as much as society likes to make us think that, right? We are thriving. We belong, visible and connected and contributing to society still, even though women are told you got to look young. I mean, even 28-year-olds are getting Botox, for crying out loud. It's just awful. The anti-aging messages that women get, and never do they want to say their age. In fact, one of my guests, Judith Kernick, who's really well known in helping high-performing executives transition from the C-suite into a thriving Renaissance period. When I had her on the podcast, I tell everybody, you've got to be comfortable aging out loud and proud. So she said, 74, but she could not bring herself to tell anybody that she'd been on the podcast for about 6 weeks, because she was like, well, my friends know and my clients know I'm this age, but the rest of the world knows, and I'm really uncomfortable with that. But she finally came out after 6 weeks, and she found out how liberating it was, because the messaging and the myth out there is that there's something wrong with you because you no longer look young. And, same thing I talked about with the technology, busting that myth all the time. You just have to hop onto TikTok and you will see thousands of folks over the age of 65 rocking that technology. And that's not easy to do. Figuring out how to upload the video, add the text, do the music, talk to the camera, doing all of these things, from weightlifting, all of that. The myths out there just mire people into feeling stuck. And I don't know if you know this, but in 2021, the World Health Organization came out with the fact that retirement is considered an epidemic costing societies billions of dollars. And when I say societies, I mean America, Canada, UK, Australia. Other societies and cultures embrace the older adult, but our societies are constantly saying, no, don't get old. And I love this shift that we're starting to have, Catherine and Gail, where we're going, okay, I don't need to fix myself now that I'm aging. I don't want to feel ashamed that I can't stop aging. And please don't hate me because my neck looks like it belongs out with the herd of turkeys right now. We're starting to shift and look in the mirror and accept this beautiful self that we have. Celebrate that we're even friggin' alive to be going, yay, right? Look at, those wrinkles, and really shift the conversation, flip the script, as we're talking about here in May during Older Americans Month, to what we can do and contribute. And then the biggest myth, especially for women, is the ability to keep thriving in the workplace, right? Institutions, corporations cannot let go of this idea that ambition ends at age 50, that we can't have an older person here. And wow, right now in 2025 is when you want your older adults working, because they're unflappable. They've been through difficult times where they've had to figure out new supply chains, ways to keep clients onboarded and continuing, and all the things. They've been there before, and they're a steady resource for the younger crowd who's all going, oh my God, we're all going to die. Yeah, because we've been through it. 1987 was terrible. Of course, 9/11 and the Great Recession and, all the things that have happened. We've been through all of those times. And certainly 1976 was a disaster as well in those years. And so those are the myths that I like to bust all the time.
So tell us those. Go ahead, Gail.
So tell us, don't be caged by your age. It's just a great name for your podcast. And how did you come about with that originally? And
well, I think I was using it with the younger startup founders, right? Because, 18, 19-year-olds were coming up with brilliant ideas for companies. And I said, well, don't be caged by your age, right? Your ideas are valuable, you're investable, and all of that. And then I went, why am I not telling that to myself? And that's why the logo has this really funny looking bird, right? Looking ahead, ready to fly, right? It's like, where am I going to go next? Setting that tone, not cardigan wearing, sitting on the couch and no longer caring about how you look.
Sure.
And that's another myth I want to bust, if you guys don't mind me saying this, is the fashion, whatever that looks like. We have women, and you can see them on Instagram all the time and TikTok. They're rocking recycled clothes, vintage clothes, state-of-the-art clothes, current clothes, whatever they want to wear. And they're rocking it. At Susie Lang, who has her platform, Women Over 60, she's the photographer that takes photos of women over 60, really showcasing their wrinkles and their beauty and all of that. This is the myth we want to change. And that's why I came up with Don't Be Caged by Your Age. Now, in podcasting terms, that's way too long of a title, but I did the focus group and everybody just found it memorable. It lit them up. They got it right away, and it had an emotional charge to it.
So tell us about the podcast in terms of what's the format and what are some of the major themes that you cover?
Thank you for asking. Such a great question. So I'm into edutaining, right? So I like to interview people, and how I work this podcast, it's interview style. And I like to showcase folks who have shattered those age-related expectations and stereotypes, right? That provide representation from all walks of life to show folks, because if you see it, you can be it, right? And so if you're listening, if you hear it, you can be it. And show folks, well, here's someone who started a resume company because she realized that she needed to gamify the scanning systems that knock your resume out. Here's somebody who has decided to go into acting or become a comedian. There's just so many different ways to highlight stories. And so for me, to especially, for women in this time period, to showcase how unfettered we're all feeling, that so often we have been focused outward, taking care of everything outside of ourselves. And all of a sudden we're saying, whoa, I can think about what fuels my passion and what might fuel my pocketbook. This is amazing. So I have several stories. So Deborah Kosnick, CPA for 40 years. I mean, you can't do anything drier, right, than accounting and providing financial reporting. Well, what does she do when she retires? She becomes a voice actor. She got coaching and figured all the things out and set up her beautiful soundproof room in a closet. Doesn't cost that much to do that. And started getting picked up by museums for narration, commercials for automobile companies, and stories, from children's stories to adult stories. Well, who would have thunk that? And another great story is Wendy Knox. Okay, so here's a classic. Wendy, turning 50 years old, top of her game in LA, one of the top paying, highest rated executives in the advertising PR industry, right? Everybody knows her, landed all the big contracts for this big, well-known company she worked at, thriving career, celebrates her 50th birthday with her coworkers and everybody. Yay, this is great. The next day she gets let go.
Oh, no.
She's too old.
Oh, my goodness.
What a slap in the face. And I got to tell you, I'm sure there's listeners out there who'd heard this story before. And she's like, wait, no, you can't do that. And she had to hang out in some serious muck before she found the silver lining, right, in her experience. But now in their 70s, early 70s, she is inspiring people everywhere. She's written a book and does workshops to help women turn their muck into magic like she did. Another story is Sarah Freeman Smith, who lost her vision at the height of her career in her 50s, and it was due to an autoimmune disease. I mean, talk about, and she traveled everywhere. She was just well known in her industry, and she had to do a complete, as you can imagine, to lose your vision, right? But here she is at the age of 70. She wrote a book called Turning Stones into Gems. And at 70, she's totally into the cool, innovative tech for folks who have lost their vision, including the AI-driven Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses. And these she uses to create engaging video social media content hands-free. It's so wild. So, there's all these great inspirational stories out there. Another one of my favorites is Charlotte Livingston, who loved fashion, loved designing clothes when she was young, but spent so many years working just regular jobs, raising her family. And when she entered her 60s, she's like, I want to be in fashion, and I want to be a fashion model, and I want to model sustainable clothing. Now, when you think of the older models, you tend to think of those women who are beautiful no matter what, right? They're tall, willowy. Yeah, they've got the makeup, they've got the hair, all of that. Charlotte's tall, but and she's very attractive, but she's everyday kind of attractive, right? Not only does she take all the courses, learn how to walk the runway, wear the clothes, do the videos, all the things, she is a working model now. She gets paid to model, and she's over 65 years old. So these are the conversations that I love to have on the podcast, as I did with you two when I had you both on Don't Be Caged by Your Age, to provide those examples of folks who've figured out things that you would not imagine, where your internalized voices are going to tell you, no, you can't do that. No, that you're too old, you're too fragile, you're too all the things. So that's what enlivens me about Don't Be Caged by Your Age.
The fact is that there are thousands of stories like this, right? That it isn't just the people who are in the media who are making, authors and doing that. There are everyday people who are living their lives with such purpose,
right?
And who are contributing to society in their own very quiet ways, and continuing after the age of 50, 60, 70, 80 to just, show up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Paula Ackley, she's down in the Bronx, and she's all about fitness, right? She's 72. She's out there lifting the weights. She's an everyday gal. Well, she's got a great following on TikTok and Instagram, helping us keeping, strong and moving our bodies. She's not some celebrity, right? It's an everyday woman getting out there with her wonderful, beautiful Bronx accent, bringing us the gems we need.
So, Andy, what else? I know you're involved in other things that have to do with pro-aging. Can you share that with us too?
Mostly it's being out in the world. So one of the things I love to do is curate content that I pull off of Instagram, and I repurpose it on TikTok, on my own feed on Instagram, on YouTube Shorts, of whether it's a celebrity or everyday person who is doing something that's just mind-blowing and an example of how you can thrive. So it can be something extraordinary, or it can be something that anyone can do. And for me, that's just the constant conversation of being in the world, being able to say right there on LinkedIn on my header, I'm 68 and feeling great. And so being able to really amplify through local gatherings, in-person gatherings at conferences, and just amplify the message of pro-aging. What does that really mean to celebrate this time period? And I have to tell you, one of the best benefits I've had from the podcast are the 40 and 50-year-olds who tag me, ping me, come up to me and say, you know what? I've been really dreading getting old, but I hear these stories of these women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I'm like, I can't wait. This is great. I have something to look forward to. It's because so often we're like, oh boy. I mean, you can be, oh boy, retire, but you and I know that many folks, they have that first 6 months of, woohoo, I'm free, but they can only play so much golf or pickleball or travel or whatever. They actually have to keep working somehow to cover their overhead. And they often just end up on the couch stuck. And that's what you and I, what we're all doing, is trying to help people get off the couch, that they deserve being on purpose. They are worthy of being connected and seen. And their wisdom is so important. Their lived experiences are so important and can be repurposed. So that's my message that I love to get out there.
So before we have to close, what about you? I think I know the answer to this, but how do you feel or think about your own aging?
Well, listen.
What next for Ande Lyons?
Yeah, I am feeling much better since I started the podcast. I can tell you it's really helped me. Now, that said, I have to go somewhere where I have to wear a bathing suit. That does not make me happy. Putting that on, that's not feeling so great, but I'll be turning 69 in August. And I just have a whole different view about this age. I'm no longer feeling ashamed that I look this way, right? I'm able to look at myself in the mirror and go, wow, this is how I am supposed to look, given my DNA package, given how I handled my body over the decades, right? Everybody needs to embrace what that age looks like for them. And the worst insult you can get is when someone says, oh, you look good for your age. And then what's really lighting me up, and actually as someone who's launched many things in their lives, many businesses and endeavors, I'm really loving the New England podcasters community. It's really an opportunity, again, for that intergenerational connection that I would never be able to get because I'm unhireable, unemployable. But now I can get it in a community, all the different ages, the decades are represented, and being able to set the tone and the space and just watch the magic happen with the conversations and how everyone's collaborating. We have a featured speaker every month who ups our game, and it's really, really exciting. And I have lots of plans to actually scale that. So that's how I'm feeling.
That's great. Ande, thank you so much. You're truly, truly inspiring. And I love the way you use words. Just, I wish I could have, I'll listen to this again so I can write them down. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love your podcast. I love listening. I love seeing it pop up. It's so popular. FeedSpot is always sending it to my email box as one of their favorite podcasts out there. I was so excited to hear your interview with Judy Collins. I mean, you guys are just the best representation and are really serving our age group and our society with your conversation. So I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure. And listen, would like to see more of you at our monthly online programs. Make your voice heard as together we change the conversation about women aging. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, we want to recommend Beverly Glazer. Are you ready to ignite your next chapter? Aging with Purpose and Passion is the weekly podcast that inspires women over 50 to embrace bold life shifts and unlock their potential through captivating stories from trailblazing senior women. Check their website, agingwithpurposeandpassion.com. And thank you for listening.